Hi there, I'm Christine Conrad, and you are watching or listening another episode of Innovative Tac-Tips, where I get to bring in trailblazers, especially during Women's History Month, that have really trailblazed through tech. And I have the wonderful Kathy Mazza, which I'm happy that I pronounced it right because I'd be a horrible substitute teacher. So I'm glad that that went well. I would love you to tell the listeners or viewers, what do you do?
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. And I was super thrilled when you reached out because, yes, Women's History Month. And as we kind of wrap it up and, how we can help everybody. So, Kathy Mazza, I am head of channel sales at Ooma, and we are a 20-year-old technology company, which most folks are really surprised when I tell them. And at our core, we provide voice services. So, voice services, UCAS. The channel, which as the team I'm running, VAR, traditional agency, all of the indirect routes to market, we're really focused on bringing a couple of nuanced hybrid solutions. So POTS replacement, which I never thought in my career I would be talking POTS again, but it's sexy again. So it's, we're bringing sexy back with POTS, hospitality, and of course, complete unification of their business tools. So helping consumers deliver and provide the best voice solution.
Cool. What about that, or like in the industry?
Yep.
Because um, I guess previous roles we haven't crossed paths, but we've crossed organizations. What
Yeah.
about the industry makes your heart sing?
Yeah. Well, I've been in this space since I got out of college. So have been in technology since day one. It is always the people. I mean, I wake up every day and I strive, and I tell my team this all the time. I strive to make their lives easier. And, whether they're taking, and we all have to support Mazza and company, i.e., the folks that I have at home that I'm helping. So I strive to make their life easier, but the partners, like being easy to do business with and helping our partners be successful with their prospects and customers. And so delivering the right solutions. But it's always the people. I love, love, love all the time I get to spend out in the field. We were talking about channel partners. With those partners, like they become our family. I mean, so many of them my husband has met. My daughters are all, or my daughter is going to college, so they're all excited and they're all invested in her journey because we become family. And
Yeah.
it's just the people. It's always about the people.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that because I think Mark Cuban said it. It's like a perfect employee, perfect salesperson is one that makes others' lives easier, right? Lives easier around them. And I think that that is really a part of being successful is making sure that one, you can do business seamless, but also keeping that loyalty, that partnership alive, because sometimes partnerships, they dissolve. I mean, obviously they light up again, but it's always good to be able to have that type of that loyalty, that bond. And so I always like to hear that. So I guess throughout your life, what I'm a bookworm, so I would always love to hear what people's favorite books are, or what books that have most influenced their life, or what's I guess the most book that you've given out as a gift. Is there like a book that you can think of that has really impacted your life more than others?
Yeah. So I am a huge bookworm. Like I am an avid, avid reader. Like my goal, and I'm pretty freaking busy, but my goal is to read 45 books this year. But it's a little dirty secret is I love to read for pleasure. So I'm a big history buff. My father was military, so we traveled the world, but I love history. So I love anything that has history, but then also puts like fun on top of it. But I know that that's not what you're asking. You're asking for probably more about business. Um, Somebody told me once upon a time radical candor, and I feel as a female, we're talking,
Mhm.
women and History Month, we don't necessarily we don't like we don't go into a room and really take that presence. And so there is this book, Presence by Amy Cuddy, and I had to go and present years and years ago, and I was super nervous, and I was representing the entire channel team to try and get something across. And somebody said, "You should just really read this," and it has resonated with me. And when I walk into a room, and just making sure that presence, and I know that we kind of say the Superman pose and whatnot, but I do put that in my mind, and and trust that what I have to say is really important. And it was funny because I did listen to some of the podcasts that you've done, and you did Sam Wilson, which we talked about. One
Mhm.
of his influential books is something that I actually received as a gift, and I have now passed it along. So it's the Make Your Bed, which it is amazing. I have it here.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
I'm not getting any Amazon, any Amazon credits, but I have had
Mhm.
my daughter read it. I loved listening. I had to go back and listen to his keynote speech, and it's the little challenge, the little things that we're doing make
Mhm.
such a huge impact. I think everybody, as we turn over a new year, we make all these huge, sweeping, New Year's resolutions. But it's just like little
Mhm.
things. It's doing the little stuff. It's that one extra call, that one extra
Mhm.
email, that one extra meeting, because
Mhm.
it takes so many touch points for us to be successful in a sales role. So, yes, long answer, but I won't tell you about
No,
all my secret,
no, yeah, no, I love I love history majors. I love English majors because the thing is, like, you have to, words are obviously impactful, right? But also history itself. Like, in high school, I wrote a 50-page paper on my worldview, which seems a little loaded when you're in, high school, but I went to private high school and they had us study theology and all that stuff. And I, like, really had a really global viewpoint of what I thought and believed. And I think everyone should really study what happened, right?
Yeah.
And understand, and like military. I My grandpa was in the service, Air Force, Army, I believe, is before they like broke up. Before
Yeah.
they
Yep.
and then my cousin graduated from West Point, and then so I don't have like my immediate family, but like influences like those. I think veteran stories were probably one of my favorites, just because like you probably have maybe more of a like uh I guess front lines view of it, right? I was like trying to think of like what's a military term that I can use that's gonna like resonate, right? But yeah, front lines view of it. But it just opens up your eyes, especially when you're moving around so much. It's like
Yeah.
you see things in a whole different perspective. And so make your bed, to your point, it's about the little things. It's about doing the right thing, but also doing the little things like making your bed. And anyways, and so I love to hear that. And from I guess from that, from you telling me about like moving around a lot, has there been like a most memorable moment of maybe your career, just in life in general, that you can think of and like share with us or share with
Yeah.
me? Yes,
Yeah.
first.
Well, I mean, I always tell everybody I wouldn't wish my life on my worst enemy. As it was growing up, you talked about moving around all of the
Mhm.
time. Um, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I had such amazing experiences that have shaped me into who I am today. I mean, I lived in Saudi Arabia during the Desert Storm. I mean, I carried a gas mask. I was in high school.
Yeah,
I went to boarding
yeah,
school in London. I lived in, like, had these amazing experiences.
yeah.
But it's allowed me to go and be able to literally talk to a brick wall. And so it has been super, super impactful. But I mean, honestly, the biggest thing is my daughter. I mean, honestly, that is the biggest. And I know it's a personal, but I take her and what she looks at when she sees me, and she sees me traveling, and it has impacted what I do every day. And I want her to know that she can do anything. I mean, I didn't go to school to be a channel chief. Like, you don't go to school for those types of things, but
Mhm.
you can own everything. And so
Yeah.
that's the most memorable thing, and it's what I wake up every single day to show her all that she can accomplish. So, yeah.
I like that because no, I do. So when I mean, I don't have kids. I have two Shiba Inus, so like I have fur babies, but like eventually
I have two of
down the
those
road.
too. I have two of those
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yep.
So, I used to teach and coach dance, and like the impact that I wasn't aware that I had made, especially, I mean, parent, right? Like it's one super rewarding, but it's like you get to impact someone's life for the better. And I just think that that's the most rewarding thing that you can do in life. I mean, obviously like impact in business and stuff like that, but when you are impacting someone's like lens of how to be a good person, how to be kind, and I think that that's huge and admirable. With
Yeah.
that, I guess like to me, when I think the next question, when I think of, I always ask people like, what's your favorite failure or your parent failure that has later set you up for success? I'm always interested to hear that because to me, failure is giving up. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts of like what failure of yours has actually catalyzed you to where you are today.
Yeah, so mine's like a weird failure. And I mean, I have the failures like a lot of folks. I was laid off about a year ago. Like I could talk about that. But one of the things that I did really is about 20 years ago in my career. And I took a job with a very specific intent that I was going to spend 1 year there. I took it because it was, in my opinion, really easy. I could dial it in and I could do the things that I wanted to do, which was I was planning my wedding and it was this whole big, Texas, like massive Texas wedding. So I needed a job that allowed me to do that. And then I woke up one day and I was like 10 years at the same company that I had said I was going to stay at what, for 1 year. And by the way, I was literally the best at what I did. Everybody
Mhm.
wanted to work with me, but I had become so complacent. And if I look at what 10 years prior to that in my career, I was on this trajectory and I was really making a big impact. And now I was sitting in an office, I was doing my job, and
Mhm.
I wasn't making a name for myself. And I woke up and I was like, how did I become this? And it was that moment that made me realize like I can either do this and retire from this company with the gold watch and nobody's going to miss me the day that I walk out the door with my box, or I could really turn things around and I could put myself out there again. And I could put myself out
Mhm.
there after 10 years of not having been in sales. Like had been in sales previously and then I took a support role. And it was a
Yeah.
big leap to come back into technology when tech had changed so much. And so, not a failure, but I allowed myself to become complacent. And I was surprised that that's what I had done. It was really shocking looking back.
I love that you said that because I started in sales and then got a marketing communications degree. So I went into more of marketing, sales support roles, right?
Yep.
And I missed the thrill of not the chase, but just like those conversations, right? Like having those
Of
conversations, being like,
interaction.
yeah, the
Yeah.
interactions, right? Like you're not emailing back and forth. You're like actually, conversing in person. And so I
And
appreciate
every
you
day
saying
is
like
different. Every day is
every
different
day is
too.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Almost feel like you're a superhero, right? Like you're like, I can help you with, you solve problems. And anyways, I appreciate that because I think a lot of the time people are like, no, I can't reinvent myself. No, I like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I've done this for 20 years. I can't, you know what I mean? It's like, you can reinvent yourself at 30, at 40, at 50, at any age you want to, you can reinvent yourself. And it's like, it's all mindset. It's all, and having the resilience of being like, okay, I got to know, but I'm going to pick myself up like back again and I'm going to try again. And I think right now in this job market, I think with a lot of talented individuals that are out there that are like either wanting to move to a different industry or different like role, I think sometimes it can be overwhelming because you're like, okay, there's like 50 people to one job opening, right? And so it's like, how do I mean, I just made that up. Honestly, I don't know
It's
the
like
stats.
probably 50,000. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what
it's
it
probably a
seems
lot,
like.
lot bigger, right? It's a lot,
Yeah.
but it's yeah, but you're competing with really talented individuals and bright individuals, and so to your point, it's like you can do it, and I think, and you just have to believe in yourself, and so I appreciate when people have a lot of moxie because it's like, yeah, you can do anything that you put your mind to, and I think with my next question, has to do with like people. So if someone is graduating, let's say a eager college student is graduating
Yep.
college, right? Like, and she or he is trying to figure out what they want to do for the rest of their life, or you're in the middle of your career and it's like, you're kind of like, okay, do I go this, like, which path do I take, right? You're in a pivotal
Yeah.
moment. What advice would you give, um, those individuals?
Yeah. So, I mean, I give this advice. I do kind of mentor folks that want to move into like a sales role.
Mhm.
Um, and you have to trust in yourself. You said this. You have to trust in your abilities and you have to put yourself out there. But I will also tell people that you have to put the work in. Like, and don't expect something. You have to do the homework. And somebody told me long ago, like, you don't get out homeworked. Make sure that you know the numbers backwards and forwards. And it's about creating value. So when we come to the table, that you have something to offer. So trust in what you have to offer, and, throw out ideas, and we all collectively can collaborate. But I would tell folks that they just really have to do the research. And coming to an interview, or going and looking and asking your leader and say, hey, I really want to do something else and new. I always tell people, like, come to me with an idea. Yeah, I tell this to my team all the time. Like, I don't want to just be the problem solver with, yes, we can do it, or no, we can't. Like, please come to me and say, hey, this is what I'm seeing, and I'd love if we could do this. Here's why I think this works. And by the way, I tell my team all the time, I have got your back. If you take an initiative, and if it doesn't go well, you and I might have a conversation on behind the scenes, but I've got your back because you took an initiative, and a lot of folks don't. So I would say the homework and taking an initiative, and sometimes you do, like, to the Moxie. Sometimes if you're reestablishing yourself and pivoting, you may have to take a little step down to take two steps forward. So
100%, 100%. Yeah, I completely agree. What would you, I guess, talking about like just your area of expertise, what bad recommendations do you typically hear in your profession or area? Like what, I guess, what are the typical bad recommendations you hear a lot that people can look out for if they decide to pivot or adapt or are in it already, like are already in the role?
yeah, I find like everybody, they everybody wants to do these really big swings. And so everybody's like, take a swing, like swing for the fences, and really make, kind of really big steps. And sometimes I think that it's about, you know, bringing a lot of folks to the table and making some incremental changes so that you can evaluate if they're effective and make quick pivots. Like, if you go and you do a big change, like you change your whole software stack, and without looking at the piece parts that go together, because there's nothing that's kind of running the entire gamut. It's really hard to kind of roll that stuff back. But I just think that people are really trying to make names for themselves, and so they swing for the fences and everything that they're doing. And I just am more meticulous. Like, I really
Mm-hmm.
am,
Mm-hmm.
super OCD. Like, I just, want to kind of go through all of
Mm-hmm.
the machinations and,
Yeah.
like, the
Yeah.
steps. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it works for some. It doesn't necessarily work for me.
Right. Yeah, I always make, I don't know if it's a joke, but sometimes I think it's funny, but I say I live in a audacious reality, but I also like I also have to understand the assignment before I even make the
Yeah.
first step, right? It's like make the outline first. Like you can think big and you can think big goals, but also at the same time you got to make sure like you can hit those goals, right? Like in a
Yeah.
realistic time frame. And to your point, it's like, yeah, you can make a big swing, but you got to make sure that you're accurate when you hit the ball, right? Not to throw like baseball terminology, right? But
Yeah.
it's opening day, right? Like a season, opening
Yeah.
season. But yeah, you have to just make sure that you like, if you want to hit a home run, you got to make sure like you're accurate and methodical with how you're going to do it. So yeah, that is
And you have to be
gold. So
realistic. You have to be realistic in your time. Like, I think we're all, like, we all have a day job that we're doing, and a lot of these projects are in addition to. And so you have to be realistic about what you can get done in a quarter, in a month, or whatever that time frame is. And I've seen
mhm.
so many times, like, I just did it with one of my employees. He came back and I was like, look, I think you bit off more than you can chew. 15
Mhm.
initiatives is too much for right now. Like, let's bubble it down to 3. Let's go with
Yeah,
3, and then let's move it, and then let's
yeah,
reevaluate and add 3 more next quarter, type of
yeah.
thing.
Yeah, break it down, right? Break it down. And then I think like when people who don't hit those numbers, like don't get discouraged, but also like realign where you put your focus, right? Because when you get excited, you almost get so overwhelmed that you burn out. So to your point, it's like, okay, yeah, group it in threes. Like,
Yeah.
schedule it out that way, right? If like and yeah, it just I get excited too. Like, yes, you when things are big and you have great ideas, it's like, okay, but think about the execution. So,
Yeah.
to your point, it's like, yeah, 3 is a good number. So when you speaking of like getting excited and overwhelmed and burning out, when you feel
Yeah.
overwhelmed or unfocused or lost focus temporarily, what do you do?
Yeah.
What questions do you ask yourself?
Well, I don't ask my, I don't do a lot of internalizing. I actually like I'm very external. Like when I get overwhelmed and when I just, like instead of sticking my head in the sand, because I've never been the stick my head in the sand and kind of things walk through. I always put things down on paper and I prioritize, but then I do walk away, whether it's just a quick break and I need to walk my fur dogs, or if I need a longer one, I literally go dig in the dirt. So I live in California, but I'm a Southern girl at heart. I still have a garden. I like to plant my tomatoes and all my vegetables, and that is like you're not thinking about everything. You're just in the
Yeah,
moment. And I swear it just kind of brings me back clear headed. And if I've had like a really crazy week, I spend some time
yeah,
out there in the garden and, planting
yeah,
flowers or whatnot. And
yeah,
it's literally backbreaking, but then I get back up and I'm like, oh, okay, now I'm totally re-energized. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, like it is. There's actually science or like studies behind like actually going outside and touching your garden or grass or something. It's like it's almost like you start like the mineral. Anyways, there's my girlfriend. I think she has her master's or her PhD in nutrition, but yeah, there's
Oh,
some type of like sitting on the ground for I think like 20 minutes. It really actually is good for your
like
body.
calm,
So
like your
yeah,
sense of
which is like
calm.
yeah, it centers you. Which I get. I made a joke. I'm like that makes sense why people do yoga outside. Like you know what I mean? It makes sense. Like it connects right, connects the dots. But yeah. One I guess two more questions.
Okay.
If you had a billboard
Mm.
that reached billions of people, what would you put on it? You could do a paragraph. You could do like yeah, symbol, anything. What you would put on it to tell those individuals or those impressions. What would you say?
Yeah. And so I'm gonna follow Steve Farmalo's lead, and I can't pick one thing, unfortunately. So I have to pick two, and one of and they've been like my mantras all the time. The first is
Yeah.
pick up the phone. Like, I mean, I get so frustrated when the misses, when they go back and forth. We've become so accustomed to sending emails all day. And I won't answer my team. If like the email has gone back and forth, like stop, like a 2-second conversation with your partner, with your customer, and ask the question and stop like, misinterpreting what's happening. And then I fill this out all the time when they ask me. It's Shania Twain's "Let's Go Girls." Like I just love like if I say that, I get excited, and I
Mm-hmm.
kind of say it when I'm walking out on a stage or doing something. It just kind of pumps me up, and not
Mm-hmm.
meaning that guys can't do stuff, but I do think that we run the world. Like women run the world. Like I can't tell you how much stuff that I do to kind of keep the house and everything in order. My daughter's going to college next year. She's a high school senior. I literally travel every single week. I, have this huge team of multiple teams. And I keep everything running here. And, and I just think like women, we run the world. Like we have the ability to multitask like no one's business. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying we're not exhausted by it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it is the reality. And, I think I'm pretty darn good at it. So yeah, those are my
Yeah,
two
there's
things.
a
I can't
yeah,
pick.
no. Yeah, no, Shania Twain, that's a good karaoke song too. That's I mean, usually I pick a Shania Twain. I'm like, it's a solid number I can, I can belt out. And I know every word, so I appreciate and then they say the busiest people get the most done. So the fact that you are busy, it's like it's almost it's like how you process and organize and to your point, it's like women get a lot done. It's like yeah, they get a lot done and so it's just yeah, I think and then especially it's empowering too because we care. Like it's like the love and the passion that we have for what we serve is just to me it's like it's amazing to see people give, right? Give and help and yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of like yeah, it's kind of like a pump up song. So I like the Let's Go Girls as kid. I like that.
Yeah.
So where can people find more about you
Yes.
if they
So I'm in LinkedIn. Yeah, LinkedIn is the best place. So, Kathy Mazza, I try to be really active. I try to be really responsive to folks. And, I want to help everybody. And, I've learned from some amazing mentors that really put themselves out there. So if there's something that I can do to help anybody, LinkedIn is the best place to find me. Or on the road, a Delta Lounge. You can find me in a Delta Lounge anywhere across the country. So yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Kathy.
Thank you for having me. This was a great conversation, and thank you for including me.